Hi everybody, hope you are all doing well. I'm in a little bit of a different environment here. I'm actually currently in my parents' basement under quarantine as I have traveled from California back to Wisconsin. And so my setup should hopefully look kind of the same, but certain things and sounds may be happening. Like Miko is currently in the basement with me, so if you hear me squeal, it's probably because he's run across my foot or something. And we also have an aquarium down here, so some trickling noises. That's not me peeing, just, there's an aquarium. But today, I want to bring to you something that I saw when I was ordering my Profusion palettes from Walmart. I noticed the Comfort Zone palette from Wet n Wild. Now, I remembered Comfort Zone looking a little bit like this. So, this is the older version of Comfort Zone, and here is their new vamped version. I think I bought this original Comfort Zone maybe around 2014. I've always kept it just because I really loved this duochrome. I haven't used it in years. I did use it to create some swatches so you can see the comparison between this older version and the newer version. Beyond the 8 colors, which are kind of the same within this middle portion of the palette, we have 2 transition shades, which I adore that they've added in some matte shades. I think not only with the time of just people always needing and wanting matte shades to really create their looks, it's just something that I always thought was a little difficult with this palette to use. But still, this was a beautiful palette that you could create really simple looks with over here, and it had some really fun pops on this side. And what's interesting is when I look at these 2 palettes, I don't really necessarily see such kind of within the pan that they look super similar. To me, this one looks so much more vibrant in many senses, but they're actually very, very similar, very, very close. I will put in my little swatch video here for you so you can kind of see the little comparison that I did.
All right, so on that top row we have 10 shades, and on the bottom row we have 8 shades. The 10 shades on top is from the newer Comfort Zone palette, and the bottom one is from the older Comfort Zone. Overall, these colors are actually pretty similar. Maybe that kind of third shade there has a little bit more gold toned in the new one compared to the old one. The duochrome is pretty much the same. That teal shift is pretty much spot on. And then there's just the addition of the 2 matte shades in the new palette, which I really like. That's the one thing I didn't love about the original Comfort Zone. But yeah, I'm excited to play with this today. But I'm happy to see that overall the integrity of the colors is pretty much spot on.
Okay, and then I thought for today's look, I am going to try the little pictorial that they have on the back of this palette. And it's going to be the night look because I really want to use the duochrome within here. And I just want to kind of see how that fares. We will not be going into this one. I don't really think I should be using this on my eyes at this point because of how old it is. But this one I just ordered from Walmart maybe a month ago. So if you want to get it, I believe it's $5.99. Hopefully, it's still as cheap. You know, Wet n Wild is one of the more affordable brands within the drugstore price range. So I'm first going to go in and prime up my lids with a little bit of Milani eyeshadow primer. Now, I have been testing the e.l.f. primer, and I didn't have too much luck with that. I still had lots of creasing, but I don't really get that with the Milani eyeshadow primer. I think the e.l.f. one just might not be as tacky as what I personally prefer with a primer. But Milani, I think, runs you $6-7, so just get Milani instead of e.l.f. I think the e.l.f. one is $2 or $3, so obviously the price point is great, but, you know, I would rather have lids that don't crease after a couple hours. Oop, got a little hair, I think, in my eye. So, within this pictorial, I also noticed briefly, I'm not a big ingredient person, but the ingredients definitely are different compared to this new version and the old version. I'm not 100% sure. It does have talc, so if you are someone who doesn't like talc, probably ain't gonna be your kind of jam, but it definitely is a different formula. Also, just know that Wet n Wild doesn't test on animals, so I don't believe they I don't know. Obviously, Covergirl is the only big brand that I know of that's Leaping Bunny certified, which is kind of a very prestige level to get within the cruelty-free range, but it also notes on the back of here that it is vegan, so there's no carmine or any sort of bugs used to create the shades within here. So for the first shade that I think I'm going to go in with is number 10, and I will put in, as I normally do, a little picture of the palette so you can see which shade I am reaching into first. But this is actually the deeper of the two matte shades. I don't even believe I use the other matte shade, which is interesting because I definitely, as someone who were to just look at this palette, I would probably always gravitate to grab that shade. So I'm just going to very lightly tap in. It's already pretty pigmented in my little what am I trying to say, actually? Get the words out. All I'm trying to say is there's some kick up within the pan. That's what I'm trying to say. But I'm going to take this, and within the pictorial, it doesn't look like it's right within the crease. It's more so within our transition area. So I'm going to go a bit above the crease and lay this color down. Now, I placed that color all throughout my transition, and I actually really like the shade. It's very, very pretty. I do think if I went in with a more kind of tapered brush, I could definitely pack in pigment and create a much deeper shade. But just what's interesting is I think about Comfort Zone as being one of the first eyeshadow palettes that I remember within the drugstore price range that I heard so many beauty YouTubers talk about. And it was one of those where everybody was like, wow, you know, drugstore shadow can really be something that can be good. You know, if Wet n Wild can do it, why aren't other brands really upping their game and giving us duochrome shades and giving us pigment that really packs a punch? So that's why I thought this was going to be kind of just a video that I wanted to do, is just really see how well this performs in this day and age where we really have things like Profusion and other really cheap, even ColourPop. When you get like a ColourPop eyeshadow palette on sale that's $10, you know, those shades and pigments you can really get very, very affordably these days. So that's why I kind of wanted to dig in and see if this palette for $6 is worth it, or worth, you know, your time or your energy. So I've gone through and added in that transition kind of shade. I'm now going to go into number 2, which they say is kind of the brow bone shade, and help kind of blend out that area. And these are, as I kind of touch into the pan, they do get a little bit of kick up within here. So I'm just going to go right under my brow bone area. And it doesn't seem to blend too much. Or, you know, kind of help my blend. It just kind of creates a bit of a highlight, which I'm okay with. It is a very pretty kind of slightly pearlescent shade. It's nothing too crazy. It's not super shiny, but it does give, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it. Let me give you a little bit better of a swatch here. I kind of just did it like on my wrist. Great place. But maybe you can see on my wrist there, I kind of just swatched a little, and just a bit of a light kind of pearlescent sheen. I'll probably end up using that for my highlight today, because I do love using my highlights from my eyeshadow palettes if I can. All right, so now that we've got that buffed into the area, let's go into our crease shade, and I'm going to go into my crease brush that I do adore from Morphe, the E22. And it says to go into shade number 9. Now, number 9 within this palette, oh, I closed it. It is kind of a difficult closure. If you have problems kind of opening things, you might have to use a tweezer to kind of help you open it up. But the color within here, which is interesting for number 9, is almost this forest green, like this very deep green, but it has shimmer within it. But it will be interesting when I kind of tap off, will a lot of that shimmer really be even within the color? I don't know. Ooh, very pigmented. Okay, so I'm just gonna tap some onto that outer edge, and oh no, things are falling in my background. Okay. Do we have to pause so I can help? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pause. My poor background's falling. Normally my background, oops, and I'm shaking the table. Normally my background is kind of nailed up, but I can't nail into this wall. So let me try to get this tape situated a little bit more. All right, apologies if I'm a little bit shifted from where I was, but back into this number 9 shade, which is this forest green. I just kind of tapped it into my crease, and you can see there's so much pigment coming through. So I'm just tapping it in there, and then I'm going to, I think, even take the transition shade brush and try to blend that in. I'm gonna hop back into the transition shade and bring a bit more of that brown back in, and then go into the green and keep it as concentrated as I can, kind of in that outer corner. And now with all of that deepness built up, which is quite heavy on the dark, but I do think it's kind of pretty. It's very nighttime, very deep, very vampy. Now we're gonna go into the deepest brown, which they kind of just have placed right here, which I don't know if that's really gonna do too much. I don't know, but we'll add it in. All right, now we've really built up a lot of that depth and smokiness. So I feel like maybe now when I look at the picture, they wanted more 9, like the green right here and more of the brown out there, but whatever, you know. And now for the duochrome shade, they want that all over the lid. So I'm definitely gonna go in with my finger and place that all on my lid space. Makes me wonder if perhaps I used either a glitter glue or kind of like an eyeshadow base, if this duochrome would have showed up a little nicer for me. And yeah, it is, I do see, I wish there was more opacity is what I'm trying to say to the duochrome, and that's where if I would have put, you know, either a black or a white kind of crayon underneath, I may have gotten a bit more intensity into the shade. And it does make me, do I have setting spray? I don't, but I have water. I might try foiling my shadow and seeing if that helps the pigment at all. So I'm gonna go in with just water. Something like Fix Plus or setting spray would probably do this a little bit better, but that's all right. This is what I'm gonna do for now. Just kind of place that on the lid, and that does bring out a bit more of the brilliance in the shade. Nice. Yeah, I definitely think that helped. It helps to just deepen up the shade, and then you can see a bit more. What I do like about using that transition shade is that shade, if you look, definitely plays more into kind of the reddish tones on this side of the palette, where the other one kind of brings out more of that warmth in the palette. So you're kind of playing to the color scheme a little bit more, because this transition shade is a bit kind of that brownish reddish tone that plays into the duochrome. So it definitely looks very pretty when trying to kind of put it together. Now, it shows nothing on the lower lash. I do think this might look kind of cool with like a liner. I was thinking like a reddish liner might look pretty with some of this maroon liner from L'Oreal. This is Matte Signature, help me. Matte Signature eyeliner. I did have a video using this liner. I did kind of like one of my first crazy liner kind of videos. I think that might have been for the Love of Liner for my first one. But anyway, I'm gonna go in, line my lids, and put on the rest of my face, and then I will bring you back in for what we'll do on the lower lash. I do think we definitely have to smoke it out a little bit because everything else is so smoky. But yeah, let me bring you back in just a little bit. Hi everyone, so I've put on most of my face here. I definitely want to add some blush. I'm going to go into this Almay Healthy Hue. I think it's going to help bring out some of that really pretty kind of reddish tone in that brown shadow in that transition area. My hair was doing crazy things, wasn't it? Whenever it's wet and just want to get it out of my face, you know, you just go whoosh, try to get it back. At least I do. But now, for that lower lash line, I think I'm going to go in with a little pencil here and definitely line the waterline. This is kind of like a deep purple pencil. All right, then with that, I want to smoke it out a bit. Just take kind of like a fine tip little brush. And I think I'm going to go in with the green shimmer shade of the deep and kind of go in. I think I need a little bit closer of a mirror. Go in just a hair right here. So I think I'm gonna go in with a little bit of the blue, the duochrome. Take that right here. Then I want to take our highlighting shade, put that right into the inner corner. Okay, excuse me. Then go into our matte and just buff out underneath. Nice, cool. Now I do think this look calls for a bit of a kind of maybe deepish or nudish lip. So I'll think that over as I put on my mascara, and then I will bring you back in for the lip. Oh wait, before we do that, let's highlight a little bit using that highlight shade right within the palette. See, just beautiful. Use what your palette is giving you. I mean, really, this is just, oh, so stunning. Look at how pretty. And the thing is I get it, if you are more of a subtle highlight kind of girl, yeah, this probably is a bit too dramatic. But you know, clearly I'm into drama. So, let me get that mascara on. All right, so I have gotten that mascara on, which always to me for a dramatic look helps so much. It's not even funny. But now let's go into this Black Honey from Clinique and see if this is a lip look we enjoy with this eye. If I can get open this little mirror. Okay, come on. There we go. Not loving the color. I don't know if perhaps, let me try adding a little bit of this pinky. If I just need something to, that I don't know, just not loving it. Let me see which one can work for me here. All right, so I've added in a little bit of pink. I added in this Melted Matte from Too Faced. I added some of this NARS Satin Lip Pencil and Rigucin? Something like that. But I kind of like the pinky-ness playing off of the teal within the eye. And then I also, for the liner, I did end up lining with that kind of maroon liner. And I actually do really like how it looks. Very vampy, very fall. I wasn't, I think, going so much for that, but it definitely ended up working. I do really like this brown transition area going into the teal. I actually think is really beautiful. It's really pretty. To make it a bit more wearable, I definitely would have probably just gone in with that brown a little bit into the transition area, but mainly into the crease, then just a little hit of that deeper green into the crease, and then you could still go all over the lid with the transition shade. It's just don't have it blown out as much as I do, I think, to make it a super wearable look. And probably don't do as much on the bottom to make it as smoked out. But really, I think this is still a very classic, great palette, and we really just played kind of with this one side here. But these other warmer, neutral kind of tones, very simple, very easy. You have some sparkle shades that you really can just, or not sparkle, but satin kind of shimmer shades. You can shine right onto your lids and then add a little bit of definition into your crease transition area. very simple, kind of easy looks. But I was excited to kind of just play with it and see what kind of, you know, look we can create with what Wet n Wild is giving us today. So yeah, definitely think if I should probably go look at their other palettes that they have within the size. I forget what they actually call them. But yeah, I'm impressed with this little one. Comfort Zone is holding on pretty strong in my opinion. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you on the next one. Wherever you are, whatever you may doing, wherever you are and whatever you may be doing, I hope you're able to do something you love every single day. All right, bye.